Hello and welcome to Manifesting Napoleon Hill. Hello, I am Beverly Fells Jones, the Silver Fox of Consciousness, and today I am going to talk about the sixth leadership skill. Now, in a previous video, we talked about the leadership skills that Napoleon Hill put forth in Chapter 7 of his book, Think and Grow Rich. Well, I'm going to go a little deeper today, taking from his correspondence course, The Law of Success. And in that course, he devoted an entire chapter, lots of information on this sixth leadership skill. So let's get started. Welcome back. It is one of the things that I absolutely love about Napoleon Hill's writings is that you can go and find where he has dealt with a specific subject in depth. And what I mean by that is I believe that his book, Think and Grow Rich, came from and excerpted from his Law of Success training course. Now, the Law of Success training course, it's in 16 lessons. You can purchase that on Amazon. You might be able to find a free copy somewhere as a PDF. And if I can find a free copy link for you, I will put it in the description below, because I got a copy and it's a PDF format and I print it out. Some people like to read their things on the computer. Some people who talk to you in their YouTube videos are using their computer. I'm a paper person so that I can highlight. I'm also a person like Einstein. When they asked Einstein about his phone number, what his phone number was, what he did was he went to the phone book and looked up his phone number. And a person asked him, well, you don't know your phone number? He said, why? I can go right to the book and find it. I don't have to clutter my brain with the information that I can easily put my hands on. I love that. And what happens when we go over something multiple times, we will begin to remember it. We will begin to incorporate it into ourselves. It's like many times I've told a story and I said, I don't remember which book I read it in, but let me tell you this story. Well, today I'm going to tell you one of those stories that actually came from Napoleon Hill's Law of Success in 16 lessons. So what of the 11, well, I said 12 when I did the video, of the 12 qualities of a leader that I'm talking about today? Well, today is number 6, the habit of doing more than paid for. Now, I talked about this quite a bit in a number of my podcasts and talked about doing more and sharing more, giving more. Now, you probably know, as you're here, that a lot of people are giving away information for free. We're training you, we're giving you information so that you can become better. But most of the time, it's in the hope that you will engage our services. It's a fact of life all over this place. It's also a fact of life that we need to earn a living. So one of those things is right now I'm not on Patreon, but I do have a PayPal Me account. So if you'd like to send me something because you appreciate what's being taught, I'd appreciate that. Also, if you're new to this site, please subscribe. We never know what I'm going to come up with. Definitely the Manifesting Napoleon Hill. Definitely my podcasts. And I try to get the podcast up on Monday. Well, this has been the holiday season. I've been getting my podcast up on Monday, but Napoleon Hill has kind of suffered. Many of you know that it takes a lot in editing and actually thinking about how am I going to take this information, and let me tell you, right now it's over 70 pages, 8.5 by 11. Yeah, it's 13 point, but it's a lot of information to share with you and do it in a short amount of time. So I'm taking just a certain sections of it so that you can get the essence. And then I encourage you to get the law of success in 16 lessons. So let me talk about this. So the habit of doing more than paid for. I kind of did this all of my life. When I was a teenager, I babysat for the lady across the street who had taken in foster children and eventually adopted them. And I babysat for her. I never charged her. She gave me money every now and then, but I never charged her. And what happened when it came to graduation time? Oh, this lady, Miss Ethel, is what I called her. She just did so many things for me that lessened, I now know, lessened the burden on my parents. And just the fact, she said, you babysat and you never asked for anything. Well, I enjoyed her kids and I wasn't doing anything anyway. Another lady, I went down and cleaned her house for her. Now, I did get something in exchange. She was a hairdresser, so she did my hair for me. But I never asked for more, and I did a really great job when I did the house cleaning that she asked me to do. In my first job as a tray girl in a hospital, I enjoyed that job so much, and I did more than ask for. I helped other people in the kitchen. Tray girl was back then they had a food cart that had a heated section, and we set the plates outside of a patient's door. So that food was hot right from the cart. So there was a gentleman that pushed the cart, two ladies, we had a set of trays that were set out, and we would see on the plate what that person was supposed to eat. We'd dish it up, take it in the room. They don't do that now. But I did more than I was asked. In my first job leaving college, it was the same thing. I remember when I got a promotion to become a thing called a program support rep, which was a technical position. I had been in admin, and about 6 months after I had gone into this new job, one of the admin guys came up to me and he said, "You did too much work." I said, "What do you mean?" "You did too much work. When they tried to give me your desk and they showed me how much work you did and they were going to have me keep doing my own stuff, I told them, you got to be out of your mind. It takes one person. You need to replace her with another person or two people." I didn't realize how much I was doing, but he said, and I understand this, the perception was I wasn't doing very much. I had a cushy job. All kind of people were looking to take what I did. And when they found out what I did and what my responsibilities were, many people turned it down. They found out just how valuable I was. Now, I didn't toot my own horn, which a lot of times we need to do. I didn't complain when they gave me another job to do. I just found an efficient way to do it. I wouldn't have gotten the promotion to the technical position if I hadn't been regarded highly. I had lots of letters in my personnel file. But doing more than you're paid for. So he says, work which one does merely for the sake of earning a living is seldom liked. And you know that. If you're in a job you hate, or you've had a job you hated, then you didn't really rise to the occasion. So more often it is disliked or even hated. And I had a job summer job at H.J. Heinz, and it was the most boring job in the world. Rice came down out of the chute onto a conveyor belt, and I had to pick out stones. I had to figure out all kinds of ways to keep myself mentally occupied while I was doing that. Because back then, there were no headsets. There was no iPad, iPhone, right? There was no cassette player or whatever that I could have there on the job. There was no music playing in the background. I had to keep myself occupied. Thankfully, that was on a rotating basis. The other one was in this other place. They didn't come from a chute, but a woman put them in a bin and they were on a conveyor belt. I was on one side and that woman was on another side. And it was beams and we're looking for stones. I mean, this is a job that had to be done manually because there was no machine at that time that could do it. But it was a really boring job. But here is the key. When engaged in work, which he loves, a man may labor for an unbelievably long period of hours without becoming fatigued. As an instructor at IBM and at HP, I just loved it. And I was always going through and looking for different ways to teach a complex subject, trying to make the subject easy as counting from 1 to 10, step by step. Many times I had gone to classes and the instructor explained it in such a way or left me totally confused that I had to go back to the books, back in the hotel if I was out of town, and really go through the steps. And sometimes it took a while. So I did those steps in order to make it easy for my students to understand, just like I work to make it easy for you to understand the law of attraction. Because all of this, it may sound like leadership, it may sound like work, trying to do business, but it's all about the law of attraction. So make it is easy. I loved it. I'd be in the office and I'd call home and say, I'll be home in about 45 minutes. I got one more thing to do. And my husband would say, okay. And I'd get home about 2 hours later. He said, I calculated about 2 hours. He knew how much I loved the job. And, I felt bad many times, but I made it up coming home early other nights. And the weekends were ours. Always. The weekends were ours. Now, when you work, you give more than you're paid for. You're laying a foundation. You may not know it, but like I said, that gentleman came to me 6 months later and said how they realized how much work I did, and he had to tell the manager he can't, he needs to split this up among people. So they realized, well, unfortunately or fortunately, they realized after I left how much work I actually did on my desk. and then I became appreciated. You know that saying, you don't miss it until it's gone? Yeah, well, that was one of those instances. But when you're doing something you love, you can work hours and hours doing it. Hours and hours for me studying and learning and putting into place the things that I learned in many ways. A man is most efficient and will more quickly and easily succeed when engaged in work that he loves or work that he performs in behalf of some person whom he loves. So that one is like when you're doing something for your honey or something for your kids and you're really engaged and you want it to, I want to make you happy, so therefore I'm going to do these things. Yes, there's quite a bit. Now, there are two very strong reasons that Napoleon Hill brings out for performing more service and better service than that for which you were paid. Now, as he says, they transcend in importance all others. First, by establishing a reputation as being a person who always renders more service and better service than that for which you are paid. You will benefit by comparison with those around you who do not render such service. And the contrast will be so noticeable that there will be keen competition for your services no matter what your life work may be. When I was reading this, I thought of another manager I had. So yes, I'm giving example. I tell you, I don't tell you to do anything that I wouldn't do. So I'm giving you my examples. I had a manager. No matter what I asked for, I got it. No matter, and I didn't ask for much, please understand that. If I asked for a certain class, I want to learn this, can I teach this class? Can I get trained for this? Can I go get training for this? May I do so-and-so? I never assumed anything. I always asked. Well, several of my colleagues, interestingly enough, noticed that I always got what I asked for. In fact, one time they said, "Bev, will you go ask for this?" I said, "Why? Why don't you go ask?" And they said, "Because he always says yes to you." And I went, "No, he doesn't." And he didn't. I mean, he didn't say yes all the time. There were always very good reasons why he would refuse me. And I said, "Just go ask. See what happens." I said, "Okay." But I did. I went to talk to him and I said, "I was asked to ask you this." And he said, "Well, no, I'm not going to say who, but can we do this? And here's the reason why." I always gave a reason why. And he says, "I don't see a problem with that." I said, "Okay." Now that wasn't the time for the next question. I needed to wait. And I went. It was during my evaluation for the year. And I said to him, "Here's something that my fellow instructors have noticed. That you normally allow me to do the things that I desire or what I ask you for, or I'll do things and I don't get in trouble for it. Why is that?" And he said to me, "It's because you're dependable. I can always count on you. You will never ask me for anything that will cause detriment to the company. It is never for a selfish reason. It's never for a selfish reason. I trust you, and therefore I am more inclined to say yes to you than others." The habit of doing more than you're getting paid for. It gets noticed. you will become more valuable and you will be able to command, and this is true, greater pay the minute you gain recognition as a person who does more than that for which he is paid. That's number one. Number two, and he said by far the most important reason is that you develop strength. And he gives the example of if you want to build a strong arm, right? You want to get some muscles in here. You don't tie it down and not use it, right? Because over time that muscle will atrophy, and you will have to have, somebody to help you exercise that arm. He says, but you want to exercise it, you're going to lift weights. Me, I do 40-pound bags of dirt in my backyard. So you are going to use it, right? So you have to give it the hardest work. Out of resistance comes strength. Struggle and resistance develop strength. So by doing more than paid for, you develop strength. And a lot of times when you're developing this, you got to get some answers. You've got to climb over molehills and maybe a little mountain, and then, huge, Mount Ararat, right? You learn to be self-sufficient. You learn to figure out ways to solve problems. So therefore, you do that. It's like I've got some seedlings going now. Well, in a little bit, I'm going to turn on a small fan because we're inside. I'm using artificial light. Well, if I take them outside, when I start hardening them off, they have no strength in their limb, right, in their stem. But if I have a small fan going and I move that fan every so often, that stem has to, fight against that wind and get strength and grow. And that is what you begin to do. You not only exercise your service rendering qualities and therefore develop skill and ability of an extraordinary sort, but you build a reputation that is valuable. You will become so adept in your work, you can command greater remuneration than those who do not perform such service. So again, you get better pay. Make yourself valuable. There was a woman who created her own job within a company because she found things within that company, a job that was missing. She created her job, and then they brought in other people for that job. But she created it, set up the rules and regulation, the job description, and she brought in, I'll say, millions of dollars extra that they were leaving on the table. And she got paid handsomely for that. So where are you that you might be able to find something that's not being done in the company that can bring in more money? Or is there some product or some service that is missing that you want and there's nobody in the industry doing it? What can you do to bring it to the industry in such a way that others will purchase your product or your service? You can get by if you render as little service as possible, but that is all you will get, right? You go to work, you get up, you go to work, you do your job, you do your stamp, you do your accounting, you do the widgets, whatever it is, and you just do what you're paid to do, and not very well, just enough to get by. Is that how you want to be? I don't think so. You don't want to be that way. So, who gets laid off first when there's layoffs? Now, if the whole area is being eliminated, then that's one thing. But when there becomes a choice of who stays and who goes, if you do just enough to get by, you're going to be one of the first ones to go. I know. I've seen it. I've seen it multiple times. And then the person that was doing the least amount of work, they complained. Well, why am I getting laid off? Why are they staying? How come they get to stay? I do this and I do that. And quietly, the person that got to stay was doing much more than what they were being paid for. They were also doing it at a superior level. They had pride in their work. They had pride in the things that they did. So you should look at how you are presenting yourself in your job, in your relationships, in the business that you want to create, or if you're in school, how are you studying and getting your work done? Do more than you're paid for. Even if you're not being paid, do more than you're paid for. If you're volunteering, are you a volunteer that's doing more than asked and you're there when they need you? Leadership number 6. Leadership trait number 6. The habit of doing more than paid for. That's all I'm going to talk about today, is that piece. But there's a second half that Napoleon Hill has in this same chapter, and that is the law of increasing returns. And that story I told you that I wanted to share with you, that I couldn't figure out where it was, it's in this section of the law of success in 16 lessons. So next video is going to be the law of increasing returns. If you like this video, please do a thumbs up. Please subscribe, hit the bell to know when I upload videos. Remember, this is Eclectic Alchemy, so we have multiple things that we talk about on this channel. So I hope that what I've talked about today has been very helpful to you. And I'll see you in the next video.